You're listening to the Firewater Review, a podcast dedicated to whiskey reviews. On today's show, we will be reviewing High West Rendezvous Rye, and joined by our friend, Mr. Pete Danos of Dirty Knees Soap. I am your host, Seth Brown. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Aaron Cave. How's it going, gentlemen?
Fantastic.
Great.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad we finally get to record this week because last week we tried this and we ran into some technical difficulties.
Big time.
So
yeah,
it kind of worked out because this is just yet another excuse to drink whiskey again.
Bonus.
But this time we actually get to hear each other.
Yeah.
Unlike last time. So anyway, as I mentioned, we are joined by Pete Danos. So Pete, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And if you would, feel free to tell our lovely listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a co-owner, along with my wife, of a company called Dirty Knees Soap Company. And the mission is pretty simple. We like to keep things very simple. Ingredients, product lines, recycling, handmade, simple, limited ingredients, so you know what you're putting on your body. And it's generally some amazing stuff.
I would agree with that. I would most definitely agree with that. Yeah. And I think I mentioned to you, I don't know if you could hear me or not last time we were on, but right after you guys came on as a sponsor of the network, I'd mentioned it to my wife, and she was shopping at one of the local Whole Foods and came across the gift boxes that you guys produce. And I thought she had just picked up Minnesota wood. And so I asked her what she had done with it, because I'd run out of my other soap and used all the samples that you guys had so graciously sent us. And so she says, it's under the vanity. And I was expecting, just to see a box of Minnesota wood. Well, lo and behold, she'd picked up four gift boxes. So I felt like I'd hit the jackpot with Dirty Knees Soap. Yeah, so she had two Minnesota wood and the two different, I think it was white ginger are the other ones that she
fantastic.
So
yeah, if you don't mind, for your listeners, I mean, if you guys and gals listening like bourbon and like whiskeys, odds are you'll like some Minnesota wood. I mean, that's just kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, I would agree with it. Most definitely. And the lotions are good too. I mean, the soap, I use the body wash. The lotion is great too. Especially, man, I don't know what it is. I'm getting older. I might get dry skin in the winter.
Sure.
But yeah, every day I was loading up on the Minnesota wood lotion on my hands before I hit the door to head out for work, and I just smelled like a real Minnesota woodsman.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And since we are based in Minnesota wood was basically the flagship product. The whole company started with Minnesota wood. And quick story, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
My wife, Heidi, she's pretty much like a thrice over successful small entrepreneur. And she was kind of at the tail end of her last gig and decided that she wanted to do something different. And I said, okay, what are you going to do? And she said, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to work, and you let me know when you come up with something. About a week goes by, I come home, and she said, I think I figured it out. And I said, what is it going to be? She said, soap. I said, what do you know about making soap? And she says, nothing. I said, that sounds awesome. I'm going to go to work, and let me know how it turns out. So over the course of a few weeks, I come home from work and coming in and out of the home, and there's nothing but pots and pans all over my kitchen. It smells relatively pleasant, but just odd. And I can see there's definitely some laboratory stuff going on there. And so finally, I'm getting ready to take a shower a couple weeks later. And I was a big box. I had my soap that I'd been using my whole life, tried and true.
Sure.
And I went to the cupboard to get a bar of soap, and she stopped me on the way into the bathroom and said, hey, would you mind giving this a whirl? And I looked at it, looked pretty neat, had some black swirls in it, looked manly. Smelled pretty cool. I said, sure, I'll try this. You sure this is going to work?
It's not going to eat my skin off or.
She goes, yeah, I think it'll be fine. I said, okay. So did my normal shower. And when I came out, she said, what do you think? And I said, holding it up in her face, I said, I don't know what's going to happen with this soap, whether we're starting a company here or not. But one thing's for certain, you're making this for me for the rest of your life, period.
Nice.
And that was the first bar of Minnesota Wood before it even had a name. And, the cool thing is all the rest of our soaps and lotions are all based off of the same base ingredients. So you're going to get the same quality and the same performance, like no matter what you're buying. So it's a good story. And that's how it all started, man.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, how long ago was that you guys got started?
About 5 years ago, probably 5 going on 6, including the original R&D and then we went out in the streets and did some street fairs and got a lot of market research, feedback from people coming in and out of our tents around the Chicago area, because that's where everything was started. Heidi is originally from northern Minnesota, where we now live and now run the business. So basically, we just spend a couple of years really making sure that collecting feedback and watching people, the reactions and answering good questions and testing out the name Dirty Knees Soap. And it all jives. So, after a couple of years of that, we said, let's go all in. And here we are.
Nice.
That's great. So when you asked her what she knew about soap and she said nothing, did your heart stop?
I was kind of amused at first because, maybe one day you'll get to meet her and we'll have a chat. But she's very inventive, entrepreneurial spirit. She'll just get down and figure things out. So, at first I said, so what do you know about soap? And she said nothing. And I was kind of like, well, that's weird. And she's like, well, it's really not that complicated. If you think about the way that soap is supposed to, it was made back in the 1300s, all this stuff. And started pouring out. I'm like, okay, this sounds like you got this under control. And
so she knew a little bit.
On my way. She knew something, right? But then it was getting down to the tinkering and the ingredients. And if you don't mind me sharing a code with your audience.
No, go ahead. Please do.
We do have a code for any listeners that are interested in trying our product. If you, in the checkout process, enter the code bourbon20, that's bourbon and the number 20 with no space, you'll get 20% off your first order. So come one, come all. Enjoy.
Yeah, it's good stuff. You guys won't be disappointed. All the ingredients in there are things that you can pronounce, and chances are you've probably heard of them or even used some of the ingredients yourself before.
Absolutely.
Let me ask this: does Heidi have a favorite scent?
Yeah, as far as her favorite scent, white ginger is her day-to-day kind of soap. We find that the body wash is a great bubble bath. So, a couple times a week I'll walk in, I can just, the whole house smells like it. I'm like, oh, Heidi's taking a bubble bath, man. That's just what's going on up there. And
nice.
The Bare Naked lotion is great, just everyday kind of stuff. Personally, I'm not downplaying Minnesota Wood because that's just a home run all day, but the vanilla lotion is amazing, as well as the almond body butter. You cannot go wrong.
That sounds good.
She's really come up with some really cool stuff, guys.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, I was just wondering, distribution-wise, Seth said they found some at Whole Foods. Where all are you shipping to?
Right now, we're in pretty close to 100 retail stores. And then we're also available online at www.dirtykneessoap.com. And we do a lot of direct-to-the-website business. We've done a lot of advertising online with folks like yourself and the Bourbon Show and other things, of the like. And so we're growing wholesale wise, but as the times are changing and trends are changing, a lot of businesses heading directly to the web, right? So we're also very, very active in that space now too. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check them out if you haven't already. And like Pete said, use bourbon20 for 20% off your first order. And I can personally guarantee that you will not be disappointed. You'll love it. So check it out. So now on to whiskey, if we may. So Pete, like I mentioned, you guys are a sponsor. of a couple of shows on this network. Let me ask this: why whiskey sponsorship?
I'm a huge fan of bourbon. I'm a pretty big fan of rye whiskeys as well when they're good. So it just seemed to be a really nice match. We were poking around in the podcast world. I'm a huge podcast fan. I've got an hour drive every day to what I like to call my day gig.
Yeah.
And, Heidi's got the full-time gig running the company right now. So I just listen to podcasts. And so I had the idea, hey, let's, check out some podcasts and see where we might want to advertise. And Heidi pinged me and said, what do you think about the bourbon show? And I was like, yes, let's do that.
It fits. I like whiskey.
Absolutely.
We can sell some soap. Well, cool. So how did you yourself get into whiskey, and how long have you been into it?
Okay. So this is a true story. So in one of my previous lives, I was a bass player in a rock band or two and played in the Chicago scene and the Los Angeles scene for about 10 years. And I made my way out to LA in my early mid-20s to join my very, very good friend and drummer out there to join his band. We walked into a bar, pretty popular Sunset Strip bar, the Rainbow Bar and Grill. It's an 80s rock club. And he's like, what are you having? And I was like, I was like a beer. And he's like, okay, listen, man, no more of this craft beer stuff. If you're going to be in a rock band and we're going to do this out here, you better learn how to drink some whiskey, son. Because he was from Kentucky. Okay, he's from Louisville, all right? So
nice.
I said, okay, where do we start? I'm like, I'm not a big fan of this or that. And he goes, hang on. So he introduced me to a little bit of Makers and ginger ale. That was my first introduction to bourbon was Makers and ginger ale.
Okay.
That's a solid pick.
Yeah.
And the rest was history. It's been a love affair ever since.
That's cool. So, yeah. It's so cool that you say that though, because I think Makers is such a kind of a, I don't want to say higher end, but it really is kind of a bourbon gateway.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it looks so cool, right? The bottle looks so cool, and it's a story, and it's dipped, and it's like, oh, what's that? That's interesting, and it's got a kick. It's fun. Very
cool. Cool. So, as we do with guests on the show, when we invite people on, we usually give them the option of, if they want to review something specific. So, in this case, Pete, you picked High West Rendezvous Rye. So, why that one? How'd you get into that one?
It's kind of funny that you the story behind Rendezvous Rye is the lead singer from the same band, right, who is also a bartender on the Sunset Strip at another place, actually left LA eventually to take over his family's Italian restaurant in Salt Lake City. And we were just having a go at it on the phone. And he said, yo, man, have you tried High West? Because it's in Park City, like right down the road from where they're at. I was like, I haven't. Like, what do you recommend? He's like, they got a few bourbons and a few ryes, but you know what? I'm really digging this Rendezvous Rye. You got to give it a try. I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. I haven't really gotten into ryes yet. I don't even think I've had really had a rye at that point. And this is a few years back. And I tried it and I was like, it's amazing. It just hit me right off the bat. It was just something about it, the presentation, the old school look to it.
Right.
And it's darn tasty.
Yeah, it definitely is. So that was pretty much the first rye that you'd ever had then, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I mean, if I really want to stretch it, I'm sure there's some, I want to say the first, if I really stretch my memory, I may have crossed Knob Creek Rye before, maybe. I'm not sure, but like that was the first intentional, I'm going to give this thing a try and learn a little bit about rye. So that was my first intentional kind of soiree with the rye,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, cool. So, Aaron, do you have any info to share with us about High West and Rendezvous Rye?
I do, yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about High West before I get into the actual the rye. So they were founded in 2006 by David Perkins. So he was a former biochemist, and he was inspired to start this distillery after visiting Maker's Mark and just seeing the whole process of how whiskey was distilled, how it was made, how it was aged, and he could kind of tie in his biochemical engineering degree with your his job with the whole process of whiskey. And he was like, I think this is something I want to do. So they started up their company in 2006 and started distilling in 2007. But as most companies start up, they wanted to get product out on the market, so they were distilling vodka and stuff like that, as well as bourbon, but they also started sourcing in barrels to get some bourbon out on the market. And come to find out, they're picking some amazing barrels. And not only that is these guys, they know how to blend whiskey. I mean, they do some phenomenal blending. I mean, and they're not just taken from one distillery, they're taken from different distilleries and blending it and coming out with something so unique and so amazing. I mean, this stuff is really just a great product. And and it's not just ryes. It's, they have their bull rye, which is a blend of a bourbon and a rye. They have their campfire, which is a blend of bourbon. It's a peated Scotch, and I think it might be a rye also. It's
it
bourbon, rye, and a peated Scotch, and then they got their Rendezvous Rye, which we're tasting tonight, which is just a whole. This is just a cool rye, just the way they blend it, because they're taking an MGP rye, which is 95 and 5% barley, and then blending it with with a rye from Barton, which is a 55 or 53% rye, 37% corn, and 10% barley, and another one from Barton, which is an 80% rye, a 10% corn, and a 10% barley. And those are both aged 16 years, somewhere between 15 and 17 years, where I think the MGP is a little bit on the lower side of or the younger side, kind of like around 5 or 6 years. So, but they're blending these and just coming out with this phenomenal product. And the big thing for me is non-chill filtered. They don't chill filter anything, so it's got a little extra flavor to it. It's got that thick body that I'm always looking for in any kind of whiskey. So
I didn't know that they had taken some from Barton on this.
Yeah. I mean, and it straight up states right on their website. If you go under their website and go to their whiskeys and you click Rendezvous Rye, they tell you exactly what they're putting in it. So they're not trying to hide the fact that they're blending stuff and taking stuff from different distilleries. They're not slapping a High West label on it and saying, "Hey, this is our bourbon," or "This is our rye." This is, they're letting you know, "Hey, we're bringing this in. Our stuff will be eventually ready, but it's not. So right now we're sourcing, and hopefully we can put out a as good as product in the future."
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because you get companies like this that are sourcing whiskey, and Smooth Ambler, they obviously source it too. They're pretty much just one source, MGP, but to be as open and honest as both of those distilleries are about where they get their product, with no kind of marketing hyped story to go along with it. And
I know.
Both of them are killing it.
Oh yeah, and it's crazy. The two big distilleries that are sourcing throw out that they're sourcing, and people love the product, and it can't stay on the shelves. Where someone slaps their sources a bottle in, slaps their sticker on it, says this is our stuff, and it sits there. It's people just need to be real with what they're doing, and if you're picking good barrels and what's to be ashamed. It comes down to taste. It's what it tastes, how it tastes. It doesn't matter where it comes for me. As long as it tastes good and it's a good pour, I'm happy.
Yep, I would agree with that. Now, Pete, have you had any of the other High West expressions?
Absolutely. one tied for first. I mean, I love Rendezvous Rye, but the Burr Rye is really cool. I mean, you can taste that sweetness of the bourbon, and it's just complemented so nicely with the mixture of the rye. Really, really cool stuff. I've had the double rye, which is pretty decent. But after having Rendezvous Rye, I mean, they're not doing themselves any favors. As far as I'm concerned, buying double rye, I'm not going to do it. For twice the price, I'll go for the big bottle and just call it a night.
Yeah, and there's a reason this one's 60 and the other one's 30. It's plain as day. When you taste them. But the one I've been wanting to try that I haven't been able to. I haven't really tried to search it out, but I've been interested in trying is the oat. Have you guys seen that?
I haven't.
Is it the High West Silver Western Oat?
Yeah. I've been real interested.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it anywhere.
Well,
now I'll be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, I've been kind of interested in trying that, and I know they have a 21-year rye. That's I've always wanted to try, but that's just silly money. It's pricey.
They have a pretty ultra aged whiskey that they sell in the gift shop only. A friend of mine that I used to work with, she lives out there in Colorado, and they don't live in Park City, but they were visiting and went by the distillery, and she had posted, I think it was on Facebook, that they had this. And so I messaged her right away and said, how much is it? And she started giving me more details on it and said that it was a light whiskey. And, it was like 18 or 23 or something. It was on up there in age. And she told me it was light whiskey, and I forget what the proof was, but with it being a light whiskey, it was really low. And it was like, I'm not spending that kind of money, basically just for the age, really.
Yeah.
I think the first bottle that I ever picked up High West was Campfire. And I was kind of in a mood to just try something different, kind of branching out in a little bit of Scotch. And I thought, what, with this being a blend of rye, which I really like rye, I obviously like bourbon, and being blended with a Scotch, I thought, maybe this would be a good gateway for me. And if you have ever tasted a Campfire, then this really, the name is fitting. It is a bottle of smoke.
Yeah.
And I like everything else that I've tried from High West. I like, but the bottle of Campfire I've probably had for probably close to 4 years, and I still have it. And then I've had this bottle of Rendezvous Rye for about 3 weeks, and it's already half gone. So
there you go.
Yeah.
You see, they have this a Midwinter Nights Dram. It's a limited release of High West Rendezvous Rye, finished in French oak port barrels.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently, that's good stuff.
I haven't seen that yet either. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to try it, but
I should send you a sample of that then.
Yeah, Pete. I've gone through a couple bottles. It's worth seeking out.
Sure, I'll take you up on that then.
I'm still hanging on to a bottle of Act. I think it's 2.3. So it was one of the earlier ones that came out. But yeah, it's really good stuff. Really good stuff. So I'll have to send you some of that.
So let me hit you with this. What are your thoughts on a Rendezvous Rye single barrel cask strength?
I would not turn that down.
I've been lucky enough to have a bottle of it, and it was a phenomenal, probably one of the best ryes I've ever had. And you can probably guess who picked it. My man Jamie Ferris. I wish I could find one a little bit higher proof. That one was 50. I think it was like 51. So it was like 102 proof. So it wasn't like really high, but I think if I could find one like 106, that was just barrel proof and non-chill filtered, I would probably be in heaven.
Because the regular release is 92.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, it's just the non-chill filtering gives it that little little extra
Yeah,
flavor,
extra.
a little extra oomph there. But yeah, I didn't know that they did single barrel picks.
Oh yeah, they do a lot of barrel picks. A lot of them you'll find. So what they do is they always finish them in something. They're always either finished in bourbon, rye, or they finish them in their Manhattan, or what's the other one they do? They have those cocktail ones they do.
The Yippee-ki-yay?
The aged cocktails. No, they
the barreled
the Boulevard.
Yes, yeah, the Manhattan and all that. Yeah,
in the Manhattan,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, they age them in those barrels too. So, I've seen a lot of the ones aged in like the Manhattan barrels and stuff like that. But the one Ferris picked was aged in it was Rendezvous Rye, and then it was aged an extra year in a rye barrel. So, a used rye barrel. So I had extra. It was like kind of extra rye, and I mean, uh, when I tasted that, I mean, it was like super sweet forward. I mean, it was like drinking sugar at first.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. It was weird, but it was so good. And I've been actually meaning to maybe pick up another bottle, but that'll be maybe in a little bit.
Well, maybe with your big order
Yeah.
placed for your tasting, maybe that'll come with that order.
Yeah,
It might accidentally not make it to the tasting.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. He hasn't shipped yet, so maybe. So yeah, that's all I got for Rendezvous Rye.
Anything else to add, Mr. Pete?
No, nothing at this time. I'm just glad you had me on to sip on a fantastic whiskey.
Yeah, love it, man. Love it.
Simple, love it.
All right. Well, what we will do, we'll take a little break, and when we come back, we will give our notes on High West's Rendezvous Rye. Welcome back, everybody. During the break, we have been sampling and jotting down some notes on Rendezvous Rye. And just a refresher, we are joined by Pete from Dirty Knees Soap. So per usual, Aaron, would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, I will, but I got a quick question. What batch do you guys have? I have 16I14.
I have 16H16.
I've got 16, and it's either a D or an O, 15.
No, so we all got different batches.
I think it's a D. I think it's a D. If I really had to bet my money on it, 16D15.
Those are always the ones I get wrong on my eye exams, the D's and the O's.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Bad eyesight. That's what it is.
Yeah, probably.
So we'll go with D. That sounds good.
All right. So jumping into this Rendezvous Rye, on the nose, right up front, you get that rye spice, some caramel. I don't know if it's me knowing it has some MGP product in it, but I get that MGP dill. If you've ever had any MGP ryes, they're just dill forward on the nose. I get that dill. I get oak, a little bit of butterscotch, some raisins, and a hint of mint. On the palate, it's full body. It's got a great body. It's creamy. Get a lot of rice spice right off the bat. Some cinnamon. It's really sugary. It's got a lot of sweetness to it. I get brown sugar, a little bit of butterscotch hanging in there, and then I get a lot of mint, dill, vanilla, and at the tail end, just oak and leather. And then on the finish, it's a medium to long finish. I wish it was longer, but it's pretty solid on the finish. A lot of rye. I mean, if you listen to me, talk about the mash bills, it's super rye forward, and it's got some nice black pepper on the finish, mint, some nice oak, and just a hint of tobacco at the end there. So, if for me, it's a solid rye. I'd I love this pour. It's great. It's non-chill filtered. It's I gave it a 89.
Very nice. Yeah, I would agree with you, man. It's solid. And prior to us kind of getting together for this episode and wanting to review this, I don't think I'd ever had it. I'd had the double rye out before, and I knew that I liked the double rye really well. And so I was really excited to pick this one up. So yeah, I like it a lot.
This is my first bottle of it as well. I've tried it before, but I just have never been out and picked up a bottle. Yeah, I got my go-tos that I usually grab when I'm out, and just honestly, you don't see it much here in Ohio, so I just never really thought about buying it. And then when you mentioned doing this show, I was just shopping around like I usually do, and I was out in a rye section at a Giant Eagle that is right by my house. It has probably the best selection in Columbus of bourbon, and I'm just kind of looking through, and I was like, oh, they got Rendezvous Rye here. So I was like, well, I'll pick a bottle up. So and before High West is kind of new to our state as it is. I think it's been maybe a year and a half it's been here, so it hasn't been here for too long.
So Pete, I'm willing to bet this probably was not your first bottle of Rendezvous Rye.
That is correct.
Well, why don't we kick it off with you, man? Let us know what you think of it.
Well, as far as the nose is concerned, and I don't know if I'm just getting over a bit of a cold, but the only thing I didn't pick up was really the peppermint. I mean, they say there's peppermint. Aaron said you had some peppermint in there too, right? And I didn't catch on that one, but what did hit me right away was that cinnamon stick kind of flavor and that clove mix. And if you take a drop of water or two and open it up a little bit, that's when the vanilla and the caramelized kind of sugar comes out of it as well. So I thought that was pretty neat to kind of watch it open up. And there was definitely a distinct difference between pre and post, just 2 small drops of water. As far as the taste, it's got some kick. I mean, they say spicy, very spicy. I'd say I agree with that. And you do get that cinnamon kick, and it does finish with that kind of caramel molasses as advertised. And I think I would have to agree that the that kind of lingering aftertaste is medium, and I wish it would stick around a little bit longer too. Although it's not unpleasant, it just kind of disappears on you, and you're like, hey, what's up with that? And I guess I'll just take another sip, I guess, right?
Need more.
No harm, no foul. And then you do pick up that, that oak taste at the end. And I like the tobacco reference, because I was kind of thinking about charcoal, oak, and maybe tobacco is a good description for that. So you definitely get that at the end as it's finishing, for me anyway. Overall, I give it a 91. The packaging is cool. Every time I have someone over, so I guess now I've definitely not had this. I've had this definitely more than one time. People come over, they look at the bottle, and they're like, oh, that bottle's so cool. Can I have it when you're done? I'm like, sure. I don't want to see what you're doing with it, but it sounds like a cool art project. Okay, here's your bottle. But it's really neat. It looks handcrafted. It's got the slanted base, and it's got the speckles in it, and it just looks like a good old throwback, to the 1800s or something, like pure Americana look to it, as far as I'm concerned. So.
And it's one of the heaviest bottles too.
Oh yeah, you can really do some damage with this thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh no, I was just saying that their bottles are just beautiful, and usually when I go through a High West bottle, I soak it and I peel the stickers off, and I'll keep them for storing, either some kind of blend in or whatever.
Oh, nice.
It's they're great bottles.
Maybe I'll start doing that, and I'll start saying no to people taking them when I'm done now.
There you go. Yeah.
Thanks for the idea, man.
Yeah. Well, I always kind of like to experiment with stuff. If I'm getting to the tail, especially Four Roses, if I get to the tail end of some Four Roses barrel picks that I have, I try to kind of blend them and let them sit for a couple months and kind of just see how they come out. Just because, you think about it, all 10 of the recipes are meant to be mingled. So why not take, a single barrel proof and mingle it with, a couple other recipes and just see what happens. So I always find that kind of fun to do because you can get some really cool things. But then of course you can never replicate it again. So
you got to take.
No, of course
notes.
not, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean they're single barrels, so once that bottle's
true.
gone, unless you got 2 bottles of it, it's it's hard to replicate. Yeah, so that's what I do with them.
Well, now I'm going to start hanging on to mine.
I started a thing.
You did. There's a trend. It just started right here on this show. Save your High West bottles, folks.
Save them.
All right. For me, I was getting a lot of caramel on the nose. That's what hit me right up front. And then I was getting some baked toffee. It wasn't quite burnt. Wasn't fresh. It was more just, like a toffee cookie almost. Then I was getting a lot of honey as well. I didn't get any of the dill, but I did get a little bit of mint. And that, maybe there was some dill mixed in there too, but the way that the mint hit me really made me think of the MGP, like you were saying. That's where that came into play for me. But it's got some really good rye spice, even on the nose. Getting some vanilla and fresh cut oak, maybe a little bit of brown sugar there too. But it was, for it to be a 90 plus proof rye, it's sweeter than what you would think it would be. I think both of you guys mentioned it, both on the nose and the taste. So I was getting a lot of that there. The palate, I love the rye spice that this thing packs up front.
Oh yeah,
got some really great rye flavors up there. I get the caramel and the oak here that I was picking up on the nose. I get that on the palate. The younger and older ryes, I think, are really playing well together here. It kind of balances it out, makes it a little bit more complex. Getting some black pepper, some red pepper to provide some of that extra punch. The sweetness of the caramel and a little bit of vanilla really round it out on the palate. The finish, it was kind of weird because it was, as well as it coats your mouth for a rye, it got a little dry on the finish for me. But it's, I expected it to be more dry than what it was, but it kind of played well together. I think a lot of that sweetness helped balance that out. It just stuck around. I was getting some black pepper, kind of hung out on the sides of my mouth a little bit. Was getting some light tobacco and even leather mingled with the caramel there towards the very end, some burnt sugars. Picking up some nice oak there on the very end to really round it out. And I mean, it was just, I enjoyed the finish. Like you guys both mentioned, it's kind of a medium to long. I wish that it would just draw out even longer, because it's like once you just start picking up a couple of extra flavors there, it just kind of goes away. And it's like Pete said, well, now I got to take another drink. So I'm going to give this one a 90.
Nice.
Cool.
I think if the finish had been a little bit longer, it would have been a little higher for me. But it was really good rye.
So Pete, you said 91, correct?
Yes.
91, Seth's a 90. I'm an 89. That puts us right at a 90. You nailed it, Seth.
Sweet.
So yeah,
good being the middle child.
Yeah, that's a solid score. It's good. I recommend it. I don't know how much it is around you guys. For me, it's around $60.
So that's what they do. So they are priced the same no matter where you buy it. My buddy down in Utah, I was like, man, it's $59.99. He's like, yep. I'm like, you must get a good deal down there. He's like, nope, no price break. I'm like, down the road, they don't care. It's what you buy. It's the same price. It's set, done. So it's $60 no matter where you are.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll buy it all day long at 60. I think it's solid.
So I think I paid, well, it was 55 plus tax, but
which is by 60.
Yeah, which is around 60. But the little store that I shop at most frequent, frequently. There's not a whole lot of bourbon people that go in there. He's got a great selection for no bigger than he is. But he's got some bottles I think he's been holding on to for a while. They still have 1792 8-year age stated on the shelf. So it's, some of what he's had has been hanging around for a while, but which could be to my benefit because he doesn't always raise the price because he doesn't have to order new stock. So
right.
Anyway, but yeah, usually 55, 60. So it's I didn't know that it was that way pretty much everywhere. So that it's kind of like they govern themselves almost. That's kind of funny.
Yes, absolutely.
Let me ask you guys this: Do you guys keep like a tasting journal or a whiskey journal?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, I thought you did.
I do not. No, I'm the worst at journaling about anything. I've been recommended to me like, oh, you should journal about this, or right. I'm like, yeah, no, I just can't do it. Bless you, journalists.
I did for a long time, and then I stopped for some reason. I don't know why. But I recently picked it up again, and I forgot how fun it was, to sit down with a glass of bourbon or rye or whatever you're drinking and just think through it and jot down your thoughts about it. And I've started this up again, and I'm really, really loving it.
Yeah, I had a little notebook that I started doing some reviews in. Most of what's in there is from for Son of Winston Churchill reviews with Hassie. And the only thing about it is it's like a little pocket size thing, which is nice if you don't take a whole lot of notes. You just kind of give your, brief whatever about it. But I found myself running out of room on them.
Yeah.
And so I switched to a larger book recently. And part of me, I've thought about this a couple times, transferring all the other reviews from that smaller one to my larger one, just so I have them all in one place. But what I have found myself doing is, like, if I start writing down notes about the nose, I'll leave about 2 or 3 lines in between where I jot my notes down about the nose and the palate. That way, if I revisit it, I can draw a little line there and jot in my new notes.
That's cool.
That's a good idea. So ballpoint pen or fountain pen?
I am a pencil guy.
Pencil? Oh.
Yep. I have a mechanical pencil that I absolutely love.
I have rediscovered the fountain pen, and I love it.
I noticed one of your Instagram photos.
Yeah,
where you had it land there.
Yeah, man, those are cool pens. I've been actually researching they have some made out of whiskey barrels, and I've been researching them, but they are pricey, and I'm like, I don't know if I can justify. I like to write, but I don't know if I can justify spending $90 on a pen.
Well, I have a lathe.
I think you should try go with a feather quill. That'd be kind of sweet.
Nice, yes.
That could be a thing.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back, man.
High West bottles and feather quills.
Yeah.
You can probably put feather quills in the High West bottles as a storage. I mean, that's something. Yep.
Is that a mic drop?
That was mind blown. Mind blown, yeah.
Dip it.
No, I'm a pencil guy. I don't know if that comes from, just the artist in me. I don't know. I just always love a good pencil. I've got some drawing pencils that I absolutely love. They're just, regular old pencils. But this one, I mean, it's a pretty heavy mechanical pencil. It's a Draftmatic. It's got a big metal end on it and a little bitty eraser, but you can feed it with different lead. And then it's got a setting on the end where you can tell it what size lead you have in it, and it adjusts. So I love this thing. Love it. But that's what I use.
That sounds serious, man. That's serious stuff.
I guess. I don't know. I love a good pencil. I love it. And I don't know, because you jot stuff down, and I don't know if that just comes from me attempting to be a perfectionist, but you never quite get it right. So I find myself erasing like, no, that's not what that is. And so I don't like scribbles in my book, so I just erase it and rewrite it.
I like it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't. It doesn't really matter what kind of pen I use. My handwriting is just horrible, so it didn't really.
Well, you're in the
matter,
medical
but
field. That's excusable.
That's just the way it is. It's you have to have bad handwriting and be in the medical field.
Yeah.
It's because the words are so long, you just misspell them anyways. So you just have bad handwriting. No one knows the difference. So
I think this is what this says, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that must be it. Yeah.
So we were talking in the break, Pete, you mentioned your rock and roll background. I would think if anybody would jot stuff down, and you mentioned that you guys wrote a lot of your own, well, you did write all of your own material. I would think that you would keep a journal of some type, just with that sort of background.
Nope.
Just wing it.
No, I mean, just a lot of memory, a lot of playing, just a lot of memory, a lot of practice. It's just one of those things, just the melody, just good memory. Luckily, when I was younger, about 20 years ago, so
crazy how it feels.
Others, the lead singer would obviously lyric himself to death and write down a lot of stuff. But it was just, get up there, jam and see what plays and get it down on tape and see what happens. So that was it.
That. Nope. Nope.
I've tried. Nope. Like, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Like my brother's a semi-accomplished poet, and he runs a journal out of Seattle. And he's asked me, "You ever journal about this or journal about that?" I'm like, "It's never gonna happen, man. It's never gonna happen."
It's such a great thought,
out.
But
I'm like, nope. I know. I think I am missing out, but it's never gonna happen. Next lifetime, reincarnation, maybe.
It's funny. I had a friend of mine. It was an old neighbor, and he always journaled about his kids. He had 3 kids. I'm pretty sure all 3 of them, he journaled about them for, I think, the first 2 or 3 years of their lives. And I just never did that. I had great intentions, and it sounded like such a great idea. He would write down, all the milestones. I don't know if it was like weekly or monthly or what, but it's funny that to think of it, and he's as big of a whiskey guy as I am, and he's journaling about his kids, and here I am journaling about whiskey. So does that show?
It's all about priorities, man.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Does that show where my priorities are, or what?
Yes, that's great.
Oh man! All right, well, cool. So the average score was, what'd you say?
It was a 90. Yeah, that's a good pour for us tonight. Before we go, I got kind of a neat story. So last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. So I'm in contact with a Giant Eagle, and I know the liquor store manager pretty well. I've been buying from there for years, and anytime he gets something limited in that doesn't sit on the shelf because he distributes to bars. So a lot of things that come in don't even hit the shelves. If he has an extra one, he'll send me an email and let me know. Well, he got some Taylor products in and sent me an email saying, "Hey, I got this in." I'm just like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I went in to pick up. It was a single barrel and just a small batch, and I was picking those up, and I was getting ready to leave. So I got like the VIP, I go to the back room where everything's kept.
Sure.
And I'm kind of leaving, and I just I was scanning the shelves where they had like just all this whiskey and stuff, and I see this corner of my eye, I see this Jefferson's Reserve barrel selection, and I kind of stop, and I'm like, we don't do mini barrel selections here in Ohio. What is that? And I kind of look, and a local restaurant did a barrel selection, and it's sitting on a shelf, and I'm like, is that for sale? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, if you want it, you can have it. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. So one of the stores, the restaurant's Matt the Miller's, and I guess what happened is they did this barrel selection at Jefferson's. Half of the barrel got lost in the ship.
Oh,
it got lost in when it was shipped. And so Matt the Miller said, "Hey, we don't want this. and so they just gave it to him. They're like, "Hey, put it out on the store shelves or do whatever you want with it." And he's just been distributing it to bars and saying, "Hey, just use this as your Jeffersons."
That's
And
great.
so yeah, so I picked a bottle up and I brought it home and I opened it up that day just because I was like, if this is good, I think I only sold one other bottle. And so I poured it and I tasted it and it was freaking amazing. And I was like, I emailed him right away. I was like, "Hey, do you still have that other bottle?" And he emailed me back. He's like, "Yeah, I only got that one bottle left." I was like, "I'll be in tomorrow to pick it up. Pour it for me." And he was like, "All right." So yeah, it was phenomenal. I'm like, "Oh man, to lose half that barrel, oh
That's insane.
yeah."
You like Jefferson's is great. That's one of my old like sneaky favorites. I do like Jefferson's. The 10-year rye is pretty good too.
Oh my gosh,
I do dig it. I dig it. I don't see it very often either, which is kind of annoying. I see the
it's
reserve and the
discontinued,
small
isn't it?
batch.
Yeah,
Is that why?
If you see it, pick it up,
Oh.
man. It's
Yeah, it's
discontinued.
discontinued.
But I
Yeah.
asked
Oh.
Trey when we were at the New Orleans Bourbon Festival.
Tell
We
me it's
set
coming
in.
back.
We set in on his little talk, and that was the first question, the only question that I asked him, and that may have been the first question of the entire Q&A part of his talk. I said, "Will you bring that back with Rye's resurgence? Will you bring that back?" He said, "That is the plan."
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, because that stuff was phenomenal.
Yes.
That was actually that was really a funny thing because you did what was that live thing on
Oh no,
Instagram?
that was Evan. Evan did that.
Oh yeah, Evan
they
did that. Yeah,
they did that at the dinner. They're talking about the ABV network, the bourbon show. Yeah.
and I was at work and I started listening to it at work, or I opened it up at work and was watching it, and I think I was texting you during it,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, ask this," or I can't remember what I was saying.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's such a cool guy and such a nice guy and approachable guy too. I mean, he's just like anybody else, and he just produces and blends good whiskey. I mean, that's another
Yep.
master blender right there.
You know what else is cool? Have you ever had their chef's collaboration?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that is money. That right there, that is if I see that on the shelf, I pick it up whenever I see it.
It's good
That's some good
stuff.
stuff.
And I picked up that and their Manhattan. The Steve and Evan gave me crap on that. We drank it on one of the episodes. I can't remember what it was. One of the episodes of the Bourbon Show, and I didn't have any of it, so I had to stop and pick it up. But I knew one of my regular stops had a bottle, so I walk in and it was batch 2 of chef's collaboration. I mean, that shows you how long some of the stock has been sitting on this store shelf. And they were giving me, "Oh, yeah, you just stop on your way home and you pick up batch 2 of chef's collaboration." And then there was one of my other local shops. They had the Jefferson's Manhattan, and they had it marked down to like $29 or something like that.
Really?
And it's usually closer to $40. And so I didn't know if it was, like a pricing screw up or what, but I was like, I'm not a Manhattan guy. I'm not. And, I know this episode was about High West. I had a bottle of High West's barrel aged Manhattan. And like I said, I'm not a Manhattan guy. That just did not do it for me. And I actually ended up giving that bottle away. I just didn't care for it. But the Jefferson's Manhattan, he did it right. Like if I was going to drink a Manhattan, that would be it. He just, he's just good with what he does. I mean, High West recently won Distillery of the Year, and a lot of people think of them as blenders, but I can't remember who it was that we had. Oh, it was, who was it? I can't remember who we had on that episode of the Bourbon Show, but they were saying that regardless if you blend or not, you have a master distiller. Well, like the Scotch distilleries, they all have master blenders on staff because regardless of what you produce, you're still blending something.
There's still a science to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And High West is distilling stuff, but they're blending some stuff too. And I mean, that it's like you said, there's a science in that, man. And, High West, Jefferson's, they're upfront about what they do. Jefferson's is a little bit more disclosed as to where they get some of their stuff. But to me, that doesn't really bother me. I mean, they tell you up front that they're blending it, that it is sourced. And I mean, both of those guys, High West and Jefferson's, they're knocking it out of the park.
Absolutely. What's your guys' go-to daily drinker? Bourbon.
Bourbon. You hit it on the head right there. Bourbon. No, it really changes. It does. Like I'll come downstairs and I try to drink something different all the time. I mean, there's probably not 2 days in a row where I drink the same thing. But if I had to pick something, it would probably be either Elmer T. Lee or a Four Roses mash bill.
Nice.
For me, if it's a day that I work, it's Knob Creek Single Barrel. It's going to be a barrel selection of some sort from Knob Creek. And if it's a day that I'm off and I'm just at home relaxing, it'll probably be a barrel selection of either a Kentucky Spirit, Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit, or maybe like a lower proof Old Scout, kind of like somewhere between like 101 and 110.
Nice.
What about you, Pete?
I'd say believe it or not, my daily is Bullet.
Yeah.
I like Bullet. Good. I like Bullet bourbon.
That's Four Roses all the way. Well,
I mean,
it used to be. I don't know what it is now, but
yeah, it used to be Four Roses. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't really gotten into Four Roses. I mean, I've had it a few times, and I think I gotta spend some time with some Four Roses single barrel. Sounds like that's the place to go.
A lot of people, well, not a lot. I know a few people that get overwhelmed by the different recipes.
Mm-hmm.
I see a single barrel. I don't know which one to get. Like, just try them all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's only 10. Just try them all.
Right.
But they're so good to me. I mean, it almost doesn't matter which recipe you pick. You're going to find, or at least I find, something that I enjoy about it. And especially when you get into those single barrel cast strength store picks, they're just so full of flavor. And the finishes on them are so long. It's like every bottle you get something different, but it's going to be killer. And that's what I like about them. But in my opinion, you can't really go wrong with any of them. I mean, we did a whole show for the bourbon show around the 3 different Four Roses offerings. The Yellow Label, like if you're going to mix a cocktail or something, that's a blend of all the mash bills.
Nice.
And it's for what the price is, you're going to pay, probably $20 for a handle of it. And you can't go wrong. The small batch is solid. That's a good entryway into Four Roses is the small batch. And then the single barrel, especially if you can get into the store picks, the single barrel store picks and picks, and especially the barrel strength ones, they're just killer, man. They're killer.
I got a few friends that are really big on Four Roses, and I just, for some reason, I haven't ventured around. There's so many good bourbons out there, but I'm gonna have to make a go at that for sure.
And to tell you the truth, it's, I mean, if you get into the single barrel, barrel proof barrel, like the store selections, I mean, they're all so different and changing, ever changing. It's, I actually was lucky enough to do a couple barrel selections of Four Roses, and my favorite recipe hands down is OESK, and I went to this tasting and to pick this barrel, and I tried 9 recipes. There was one that they didn't have for us to try. Tried 9 recipes, and I picked one for OESK for sure. And when when it was revealed what we were tasting, I was blown away to find out that I was wrong, and I'm like, oh, really? And it was an OESO, and it kind of blew me away because I thought I had had it down. I knew what I loved and what I liked, but they all change being single barrels.
Well, and too,
Cool.
Pete, I think you said you were kind of a big rye guy too.
Yeah, I am.
Four Roses is high rye. I mean, if you're liking the High West stuff, the Rendezvous and all that, you like Bullet. I mean,
sure,
you're gonna love Four Roses.
Oh yeah, I would actually, just go out and pick up a bottle of their off the shelf single barrel, because that's OBSV, and that's their high rye fee offering, which fee is kind of like creamy, full body, and I think is spice forward. And so that would and it's their high rye mash bill, which is 35% rye. So it'll probably
cool.
you'll probably try that, and you'll be in love.
I'm in. I'm looking at it right now online, actually. So I'm convinced.
So here's what you do, Pete. After we hang up here, email me your address.
Absolutely.
And I probably have 5, maybe 6 different bottles of cask strength Four Roses that I can send you samples of, and a couple of just off the shelf, just single barrel. They're not cask strength. They're all OBSV, but they're different ages.
Okay.
That I can send you. That'll be your sampling of Four Roses.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that greatly.
Yes, send me your stuff as well, because I got multiples open as well that I can send you. Actually,
great.
And ones that I help pick. So
awesome. Sounds like a deal.
Aaron just one-upped me. I didn't pick any.
Yeah, well.
So would you like to counter that offer?
Nah, you came on the show. That's your payment.
I'm just kidding, man. That's good. It's all good, man. I'm just jealous if you guys have any access to Elmer T. Lee down where you're at, because that's really my all-time favorite.
I got you there too, buddy.
That is my all-time favorite. And when he died, I ran around and bought a bunch, and then I just didn't save any.
Yeah.
And that was that.
That's the story with so much in the bourbon industry nowadays. I mean, not necessarily just with Elmer T. Lee, but just every bourbon. You're like, oh, I remember when that sat on the shelf. I remember when I had this or that, and I drank it all, and now it's all gone, and I can't find it. And it just, it stings, but there's still so much good stuff out there, though.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's like we're talking about High West this episode. I mean, they're picking some great barrels that are still out there.
Oh yeah. You guys ever have Whistle Pig?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
You want to talk about a knockout rye, man?
Have you had any of their barrel picks?
I don't know that I have. I was at a tasting and I met the founder. I met the CEO, and we had a chat over his whiskey. I don't know if that's what he was demoing that day, but I just remember walking out of there like that was hands down my favorite. And that might be my all-time favorite rye, honestly, when I'm stopping thinking about it. Being honest right now, that might be it, period.
I tell you what, man, I've got a couple barrel picks that I've picked up, and they all sit between like 110 and 120 proof, non-chill filtered, and my God, I mean, I can't talk enough about that. I mean, it's just phenomenal, and it's all sourced, and they let you know that it's sourced. They are making their own, but it's not ready yet. Well, they got their farm stock that just released, which is, I think, a blend of partially their stuff and then something else that they sourced. But yeah, oh man, their barrel selection stuff is off the charts good. I mean, 10 years, non-chill filtered. Oh yeah,
and none of it is cheap.
Oh no, it's around $90.
I mean, yeah, but, if you're just gonna go with the straight rye, you're probably paying like at least $80. It's usually $79.99 just for the straight 10-year rye off the shelf.
Yeah.
So good though.
It
you know,
is.
I have I had 3 bottles, and I'm down to my last bottle, and I've actually been kind of contemplating on picking up a new bottle of it, but yeah, it's good stuff.
There's a lot of
He
good
told me the whole
rye.
story. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, he told me the whole story about rescuing the casks from a fire. There's a fire, I guess, at the source of their casks that they picked, and they're able to reclaim them. And he was very, very proud of that. And it's just one hell of an offering. I think it's worth the money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. I own a 12-year. It was one of the Old World, I think, and that's good. That's probably. I've got a few of the finished, which any of their older age stuff is almost always finished. That one is probably my top finished whiskey. Is that 12-year that I have, and there's another good rye that is from who is it? It's Limestone Branch, and it's Minor Case rye whiskey.
I've been looking for that.
They actually sent me a bottle to review, and I've got a review of that coming up on Son of Winston Churchill. I sent that to Hassie the other day, and it's a young rye. And there again, I mean, they tell you exactly where they get the whiskey from. I mean, it's from MGP. Okay. It says it was sourced and aged in Indiana, and they finished it in. Gosh, I can't even. I just wrote it the other day. It was either cab or sherry fin. I think it's sherry finished.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sherry because I've looked at their site before.
Okay, but it's only aged 24 months, so it's a 2-year-old rye. But it spent just enough time. I'm not going to give away the whole review, but it just spent enough time in that sherry cask to balance that young rye grain out, and it was. I mean. You know, it's not a 12-year-old whistle pig. It's not a older High West offering or anything like that. But for what it is, I mean, it's, $50, $45-$50. It's a great finished rye. And you don't, aside from whistle pig, you don't see a whole lot of finished rye whiskeys out there, straight rye whiskeys. You just don't.
Right.
And
right.
So, yeah, I would, there's just a lot of good rye going around.
Something that was, as far as good ryes, Templeton Rye, I don't know if you guys have gotten into that at all, but they used to be a good one. I used to like that a lot. It's lower in proof. It's a good entry. It was a good entry. I think they're about 4-year-old ryes, and I don't know. Something changed in the recipe though, so I stopped drinking it. They changed something. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if you guys know, but
yeah, actually, Templeton
they sourced something different, right?
Well, no, it was all sourced from MGP, and then I think was it Queens City Liquors or no, I can't. It was some distillery out of Cincinnati started Templeton Rye. They sourced whiskey from MGP, and then I think 2016 MGP actually bought the brand from them because they're starting to create their own portfolio of whiskeys at MGP. Okay. And so I don't know if they changed the mash bill when they bought it from them, which they might have, because I don't know what they were using at the time. So that could be the source of how it's changed.
Interesting.
Didn't they get into lawsuit trouble too, on the label stuff?
No, that's possible.
I can't remember. It's been a few years back.
I heard a rumor about that, but that's all I'll say about that, I think, because I just otherwise be talking about out of my butt. So let's not do that.
And end scene. All right. This was fun. Thanks for coming on, Pete.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah, good show.
I'm glad we got it to work this time around.
Yeah.
Everybody was very quiet last time.
Yeah, last time it was a lot of, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
The Verizon commercials. And now that I know that you played in a rock band, Pete, I feel like an idiot because, I'm the guy that's supposed to know what I'm doing on the sound end of it, and I didn't.
Hey, man, I don't know anything about that stuff either. I just play the bass. I don't write anything down, and that's just the way it goes, bud.
That's all right. As I always say, technology is great until it does not work.
Yes, that is the truth.
So anyway, all right. So this episode, we reviewed High West Rendezvous Rye, and you said it was a 90?
Yes, 90.
Mm-hmm.
Plugs, Mr. Pete. Tell us about you, where we can find you, and where we can find your soap.
Yeah, Dirty Knees Soap Company. Check us out. www.dirtykneessoap.com. Use the code BOURBON20. That's bourbon, no space, the number 20 for 20% off your first order. And you can't go wrong with Minnesota Wood, gentlemen and ladies. There's enough for everybody.
Yep.
Thanks.
Aaron?
Well, I am at Bourbon Cave on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also find me writing articles for the Sons of Winston Churchill and the Bourbon Zeppelin. I write high proof, single barrel bourbon reviews. So check them out. And that's it. Seth?
I am Seth P. Brown on Instagram. I'm Seth P. Brown on Twitter, too. Very rarely am I on Twitter. But those are the two places you can find me. As Pete said, check out dirtykneessoap.com. You can also find them on Instagram at dirtykneessoap. And as he mentioned, use code BOURBON20 on checkout to get 20% off. And as I said, you will not be disappointed. It's good stuff. They've got lotions, soaps, bar soap, and
Body wash.
Body wash. Thank you. I was drawing a blank there.
It's all good.
That's actually what I'm using, and I still could not even remember what it was. But that's it. You can find all of our shows on abvnetwork.com. You can find them in iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. We appreciate your reviews. That helps us greatly. So do that, and we would love to hear from you. And until next time, cheers.
Later.
The Firewater Review is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.